Hello and welcome to Pleasantview. My name is Sissy and today we're going behind the scenes in my Pleasantview series that's upcoming here on YouTube. We're visiting the Goth household today and I'm excited to show you Mortimer, Cassandra, and Alexander. So let's jump right in. To start off, we'll take a tour of the renovated Goth Manor, paying special attention to items I've added for use with mods. Then, we'll look at each of the Sims makeovers with clay hairs and clothing defaults, as well as their lifetime wants, Sims 3-2 traits, chemistry preferences, and the rest of their Sim-specific details. Let's start the tour at the front of the house, going around the yard first before we head inside. First, we're going to pass by our mailbox shelf, which is where our Sims are going to put their bills when they collect them from the mailbox. We're going to go to the right here by these beautiful willow trees that are at the Goth Manor. I love them. They are just gorgeous and they are not used in enough houses in Pleasantview in my opinion. The backyard is all set up for the Cassandra Dawn wedding, which we're going to try to have, considering that's what Cassandra wants. But, I don't know if Dawn's going to want to go through with it. He is non-committal after all. But that Goth fortune could really do some good for his debt. Passing by the back door, we've got the Goth graveyard here. It's really cute, but these graves are probably going to end up at the local cemetery. I love the green grass. We've got a utility box so that electricity works on this lot. And beautiful flowers. You can't beat Goth Manor. Now let's head inside. In the entryway here, it's the traditional black and red. They've got an open loft area upstairs. But first, I'm going to show you this interior half bathroom, which I might move because there's not a single window in this bathroom, and that irks me a little bit. If we go to the right here, they've got their kitchen. With, of course, a calendar so that holiday pop-ups appear on this lot. A nice beautiful seating area with a lot of sculptures for them to have family dinners. There's the piano in the entryway by this beautiful grand staircase. The door to the backyard. And more statues. Lots of greenery. Mortimer is a nature sim after all. When you come up the stairs, they've got their chess table. And on this side, there's a desk here, which opens up to that loft area I was discussing, which looks over the front entryway. They have a seating area over here to watch family movies. Now, the original Goth Manor doesn't have a television set, so I don't know if we'll keep this or not, but it's a nice family area anyways. And in this room right here, this is the master bedroom, with a beautiful picture of someone who looks quite like Bella. I see this as the master, so it's Mortimer's room. And as the master, it has an ensuite, with of course a laundry hamper. There's a spiral staircase here, which will go upstairs to the third floor. The third floor is where I think there's been the most renovations. Now, of course, I did not do these renovations. I downloaded this fixed Pleasantview from Mod The Sims, and these are all CC-free makeovers of all of the lots using items from all the expansion packs. I'll link to that in the description if you're interested. Now there's two bedrooms up here. This one to the left is blue and spacey. I see this as Alexander's bedroom. And we'll come back to Professor Von Ball in just a second. He's got a laundry hamper, and because this is Goth Manor, every room has an ensuite, a full bath. And then this bedroom is black, and beautifully Cassandra's. She has a desk, And she has her ensuite bathroom as well, with her laundry hamper. Let's just quickly look at Professor Von Ball, so I don't forget about it later. Professor Von Ball here is Alexander's. All the other Sims in the neighborhood that have one of these so far, it's college debt for me giving them their college degree. In this case, I've put this here because we're gonna have Mortimer fund Alex's education. The Goths have enough money, and Alexander's probably gonna go to college, so we're gonna go ahead and put money in his education fund to fully pay for his college. We'll learn more about Cassandra's college fund when we go through her inventory, but the reason that this is out on the desk is so that it will collect interest. So we are gonna fully fund 20,000 simoleons into Professor Von Ball that Alex can use to pay for his college education. And that's how these Professor Von Balls work. This mod lets you choose how much college education costs and charges the sim for every semester that they're in college. Now, if a sim is put on academic probation and they go to college extra semesters, they'll have to pay more. But that's not something that I typically fund. Typically, if parents or children or teenagers put away money for use for college before they go to college, I only fund up to the maximum of the 20,000 simoleons that it costs for a standard 4-year college education. Here are our Sims, the iconic Goth family. I'm so excited to start playing them. I just can't wait, but we're not quite there yet. Unfortunately, I still have a few mod conflicts to figure out that are critical to my playstyle, but after that I'm ready to get started, and then we will play, and download more Sissy and mods as needed. So let's go ahead and take a look at Mortimer first. What a cutie. Now, I wish I had more facial hair that matched my clay hairs, but I don't, so it was actually really hard to find a mustache, and that's the one thing I'm not entirely sure I'm happy with. So let's have Mortimer show us his outfits. Mortimer is a goth, a nature sim, a retired scientist, a knowledge sim. All of these things I put into his outfits, as well as the fact that it's almost summer. I think they all suit him really well. Now Mortimer is 62 days old. He's a knowledge sim who went to college. He has the wants to flirt with Dina and earn a bronze robotics talent badge. His lifetime want is to reach maximum enthusiasm in 5 hobbies. I think that's perfect for a retired man like Mortimer. His one true hobby is nature, so we'll definitely be doing that one, and I'm not sure what the other 4 will be. Since he does want to earn a robotics talent badge, if we start working on that, we'll work on that hobby and see what else he wants to do. Overall, I think it's going to be a fun retirement for him, just working on his hobbies and enjoying life. Potentially with his new wife Dina, if their relationship continues. Now, as I mentioned, Mortimer's a retired mad scientist level 10, so he gets a pretty nice pension check. I also gave him any skills he was missing for his college degree, which really were not many. Taking a look at his inventory and his traits, Mortimer's favorite color is brown. He likes classical music. He's brooding, eco-friendly. He's eccentric. He's a gatherer. He's handy. He's a genius. And he's a light sleeper. I picked these traits based on who I think Mortimer was as a young person, but also who he is as an adult and an elder. In the 5 sim days, or 5 years since Bella's disappearance, I think that Mortimer's changed. That's one of the reasons that I gave him the light sleeper trait. I think that Mortimer's a little bit on edge ever since Bella disappeared. I'm not sure that he knows what happened, and maybe it changed him. Now, you'll notice Mortimer has 7 traits, and that's because, in my game, Sims will get 2 traits at toddlerhood, 1 at child, 1 at teen, 1 at adult, 1 at elder, and then they also get a bonus trait after finishing 2 years of college. So that's 7 for Mortimer, because he's an elder who also went to college. Mortimer has more traits than anybody else in the neighborhood, but I think that just shows how people grow and evolve as they get older. The game will automatically assign 5 of their traits. The bonus one that they get in college, I have to give them, and the same for elderhood. So those are things that I have to remember to do. I love the eccentric trait for Mortimer because I think it goes with his mad scientist, And I think the Gatherer works really well with him being a nature sim. I think eco-friendly goes with both of those things. And potentially we'll be making this house a little bit more eco-friendly, buying some solar panels or something. I love that Mortimer wants to get a robotics talent badge because I think that goes with his handy trait. He's of course a genius because that's just Mortimer. He did unlock the scientist career reward, which is nowhere in the house, so we'll probably place that down at some point. You'll notice that Mortimer doesn't have a Watcher Book of Faith in his inventory. And I treat this as that maybe he lost his faith when Bella disappeared, or shortly thereafter. It must have been a very tough time for him, and I'm not sure he knew how to deal, other than to blame the Watcher. Now let's look at Mortimer's lifetime aspiration benefits. As an elder, he's obviously old enough to have a secondary aspiration. And when I put his details into my secondary aspiration calculator, he came out as a secondary family sim. I love that for him, and I think that might be one reason why even though Bella's disappeared and he still loves her, he might want to have a relationship with Dina. I think he wants to have that companionship, with Cassandra becoming an adult and potentially starting a family of her own. Mortimer doesn't want to be left behind and be alone. It has also been 5 years, or at least in my headcanon, it's been 5 days since Bella disappeared. Bella disappeared when Cassandra was a teenager and when Mortimer was at the end of his adulthood. So it has been some time, and there's been no sign of her, at least not yet. So in addition to giving him that secondary aspiration, I also gave him the Grandma's Comfort Soup recipe, because Mortimer has a lot of cooking skill points, and I think it would be fun for him to create hearty family meals for his family and to share with those that he loves. Since he's retired, I didn't bother giving him any of the work tree. So instead, I gave him the full needs tree, and I gave him the first 3 perks of the knowledge tree. I don't see Mortimer as wanting to summon UFOs or look into that if he thinks that that had anything to do with his wife's disappearance. He might either be scared or he might be angry. But either way, I thought that the needs tree and the first 3 of the knowledge were better suited. Now let's take a look at Mortimer's turn-ons and turn-off. Mortimer likes adventurous sims who are stylish. I think that that fits Bella to a T. And his turn-off is rebellious. I just think he doesn't want someone who's constantly going to be bashing heads with everyone around them. I think he wants a nice, quiet life. Now let's take a look at the one and only Cassandra Goth. Cassandra becomes an elder in 38 days, which means that Cassandra's been an adult for only 3 days. And you'll notice that Cassandra did not go to college. There are 2 reasons for this. First, we'll go with my headcanon. My headcanon is that Bella disappeared roughly 5 days ago, 5 sim years, when Cassandra was a teenager, and I think that that really impacted her hard and that she didn't want to leave her father and brother to go to college. I think she wanted to stay home and, as a family sim, start her own family and get that back. I think that being with her father and brother and potentially starting her own family was more important to her than the previous pressure that comes from being a goth to go to college. She missed her mom, and she wanted her back. She wanted to be home if she came back, and she wanted to be there for the rest of her family. The second reason is because when I was calculating the ages and trying to figure everything out, having Cassandra go to college would have been possible, and I could have made Bella and Mortimer just a little bit older, but they both still would have been alive. However, it would have been hard to keep Bella as an adult and not an elder. She could have done it, but she would have been at the very end of her adulthood. In addition, it would have made the age gap between Cassandra and Alexander a lot bigger. By having Cassandra be in her early adult days, she could be closer in age to Alexander. If she had gone to college and finished college, she would have had to be a minimum of 8 days into her adult lifespan, whereas right now, I only have her as 3. So there's also the technical aspect of it. Cassandra's lifetime want is to have 6 grandchildren. I see her as wanting to have a large family and be surrounded by people that she loves and who love her. I think that's very important to her after the loss of her mother, so I went ahead and gave her that traditional family want. Even though there would have been a lot of pressure from Mortimer, Bella, and growing up as a goth for Cassandra to go to college and for education to be very important, even though she skipped that, I think it's one of the reasons that she entered the science career as an adult. I think in some respects she wanted to live up to her father's expectations, and she is a lot like him, which we'll see when we look in her inventory. Since she didn't go to college, I didn't give her any extra skills, but she is fairly close to getting promoted anyway. Looking at Cassandra's inventory, you can see that she has the Watcher Book of Faith. Even though Mortimer has lost his faith, I don't think that Cassandra would have lost her faith after her mother's disappearance, and I do believe she would have been raised religiously. Cassandra's favorite color is black. Her favorite music is classical, like her father. She's brooding, like her father. She's socially awkward. She's a virtuoso. She's a supernatural fan, and she's shy. She inherited the brooding trait from her father. Socially awkward to me just screams Cassandra. She's obviously a very shy sim, and so I added virtuoso and supernatural fan as things that I think she would have grown up around and that she would enjoy. Cassandra's inventory has one more thing in it. Cassandra has 21 1,000 simoleon bills in her inventory. 20 of these bills are what I would consider Cassandra's education fund. So I imagine that the Goth family would have provided for Cassandra's education similar to how they're doing for Alexander. However, since Cassandra didn't go to college, she would have simply cashed out that funds. And I think that Mortimer would let her keep that. That's her nest egg, or for her if she decides to move out and start her own family. The extra 1,000 simoleons is money that I think she would have made from her job so far, or saved up as a teenager on her own. So she has essentially 21,000 simoleons that are hers, not her father's and not her family's. And so that money is currently in her inventory. Once we start playing them, I may have her create a bank account, deposit this to gain interest, or use it to move out on her own. I'm not sure, but for now, it's just a reminder to me in her inventory that this money is Cassandra's. Let's take a look at Cassandra's lifetime aspiration benefits. She's still very early in her adult life stage, so she doesn't have a secondary aspiration yet. However, I did give her the first 2 in the family tree, and I gave her the full needs tree. I imagine that Cassandra's going to want to start a family really soon, and that she probably wants to start it with Dawn as soon as they get married. She actually already has the want to have a baby. So I think the needs tree is going to be very helpful for her in her career and also becoming a parent. I gave her the first 2 in the family tree because to me, Cassandra is a tried and true family sim. Although I'm not sure that I'll give her super fertility, but the first 2 are a good start. I didn't give her any of the work tree since she doesn't have a lifetime want, or she hasn't rolled once for work very much yet. We'll see as we play her if those make sense, or if she saves up enough points to get them anyway. Finally, let's take a look at Cassandra's turn-ons and turn-offs. Her turn-ons are occult and black hair, and her turn-off is infamous. I think the black hair makes sense considering she's attracted to Dawn, and as a supernatural fan, occult also makes sense. And I think the turn-off of infamous suits her quite well. Last but not least, let's take a look at Alexander. Let's have him gussy up and check his outfits. Did I forget to look at Cassandra's outfits? I think I did. Let's have her do that now. You'll notice that I gave Cassandra a black wedding dress because when we start playing the game, she's going to be ready to marry Don Lothario in the backyard. So giving her a wedding dress was important, and since her favorite color is black, I thought that black lacy wedding dress was absolutely perfect. Taking a further look at Alexander, he's going to become a teenager in 3 days. He obviously does not have a lifetime want yet, so let's go ahead and look at his traits. Alexander's favorite color is gray. He likes techno music. He's a cat person. He's lucky, and he's a genius. He's also religious and has the Watcher Book of Faith in his inventory. Alexander has a level 10 interest in animals, so I thought making him a cat person was perfect. I just can't wait for him to adopt a little cat to have full reign of this whole big goth house. His other 2 traits, lucky and genius, come from his parents. Bella is lucky and Mortimer is a genius, so he inherited these traits from them. I went ahead and gave Alexander the first 2 perks in the needs tree. I think those are useful for any sim, but I did save one of his points to potentially put in his aspiration tree. Alexander has a hidden fortune aspiration token, so he may become a fortune sim, or I may make him something else and give him a secondary aspiration of fortune if he has 2 perks available. I'm not quite sure yet, so we'll have to see after we start playing what suits him, and I may just see what my calculator says. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed visiting the Goth family. We'll be right back here to play their first day in Pleasantview very soon. Be sure to subscribe to see how these 3 interesting Sims interact with the world around them. Until we meet again, take care.